Today I'd like to show you the fundamentals of fingerpicking on the guitar. Instead of using a pick, we're going to use 4 out of the 5 fingers of our right hand. Typically we don't use the pinky finger, but we use these first 4 fingers, and we designate them using these letters. The thumb is P, the index is I, middle finger is middle, and the ring finger is A. So P-I-M-A. And again, we typically don't use our 4th finger. Now, for basic finger picking, what we're going to do, the thumb is going to, at least for now, is going to play strings 6, 5, and 4, based on whatever chord we're playing with our fingers. I'd like to start with an E minor chord. But we'll focus on just the right hand. If you use your thumb to play on the 6th string, the thumb is going to play downward. Just like if we're using a pick, we're using a downstroke, you touch your thumb to the 6th string and then pluck downward. Okay, now what you might notice is that my thumbnail is a little bit longer. If you see my 2 thumbs right here, the short nail, in fact all my fingers are short on the left hand and all the fingers are long on the right hand. Not super long though. I play in the classical style, which uses fingernails as well as the flesh of your fingers. And that's an option. You can either play with just the flesh of your finger if you don't have a long thumbnail. Sounds like that. Or if you use your thumb in the classical style, there's a little bit more volume, more clarity to the notes, and a little bit more projection. See, the flesh has a little bit softer sound, and the sound is a little bit brighter, a little bit louder using a nail, a fingernail. And it's not very long. If you kind of look from this perspective, you see it's just poking up past the tip of the finger. And it's really the same thing for all fingers whenever you're playing fingerstyle. This is an option. You don't have to do this. But for the reasons that I already outlined, just kind of know that that's the resulting sound that you could get. Now these other fingers, what they're going to do is they're going to pluck opposite. They're going to pluck upward. So starting with the index finger, the I finger, if I touch that to the 3rd string, okay, notice it's plucking upward. So I'll pluck downward with the thumb and up with the index finger, the I finger. Okay, we're going to keep that. We're not going to pluck upward with the thumb. We're not going to pluck downward with the index finger. Some styles do that. Flamenco guitar uses those techniques. But for now, we're just going to use the just these basic functions of these fingers. Now, the M finger and the A finger will do the same things. For now, we'll put the M finger on the 2nd string. And again, plucking upward. Okay, so down on the thumb, up on the index finger, up on the I finger, and then upward on the A finger. Again, for now, A finger on the 1st string. And these are the open strings. My left hand isn't doing anything this whole time. It's just resting. So if we play each of these notes in sequence, not necessarily in a rhythm at this point, but just a sequence. So P, I, M, A. Thumb, index, middle, ring. Okay, on strings 6, 3, 2, and 1. Now, if you look closely, what I'm actually doing when I'm going from one string to the next, in other words, I play this first note, then I go to the next note, I'm not waiting till the very last moment that I want to play the note to actually to then touch the string and pluck it. I'm doing something that's called right hand preparation, right? I'm preparing the note. So if I play this first note, which if you notice now, I'm getting ready to play it, my hand isn't just anywhere, right? It's right on the note that I want to play. See, so I'm not waiting. Notice the difference if I don't prepare the notes. Here's unprepared notes. Okay, it might not sound very different, but it feels completely different if I prepare the notes. Okay, so what I'm actually doing is I'm making my finger prepare the next note, go to the very next string, and it smooths out that action. It smooths out the motion and the transfer from one note to another. Go ahead and try the two and see if you can feel a difference. You should be able to feel a pretty big difference. Is one easier than the other? Maybe. Some people might find one or the other easier. Others might find both more difficult. You just kind of have to find out for yourself. Okay, now that finger combination that I just showed you, that's actually really, really common. You can't see my left hand in the frame because I want you to focus on the right hand. At this point, I hope you know your chords really, really well. I'll be playing a C chord, and you should know that a C chord doesn't use the 6th string. We only use these 5 strings for a C chord. Now, which is 5 strings. And we should think, well, wait a minute. 5 strings? I'm only using 4 fingers. Do I adapt something? Do I change? Do I add the pinky? Nope, we just use the 4 fingers and we drop one of the notes from the chord. Typically, we're going to drop this 4th string right here. So we're going to play the lowest note of the chord, and that's kind of the rule that we're going to keep for finger picking chords. Whatever chord you're playing, play the lowest note with the thumb, and then whatever the highest notes are, which on the basic open chords, C, A, G, E, D, E minor, A minor, those are using the top 3 strings. And again, we're getting these 3 fingers kind of locked into their roles, playing these strings right here. Index on 3, middle on 2, ring on 1. Okay, so for the C chord, what that means is thumb plays the 5th string. If I switch to a G chord, notice what happens. See, my thumb moved down here because that's the lowest string that I play on for a G chord. These fingers up here didn't change. Back to the C chord. Doesn't look that much different over here, does it? Without actually playing them, here are my fingers on the proper strings for the C chord. Here are my fingers on the proper strings for the G chord. Right? I, M, A didn't change, just the thumb. And for a D chord. Now you might find this D chord a little awkward because what you will probably notice is the position of the thumb. It's actually going to be really, really critical. What some of you, and this is when I first learned how to play fingerstyle, what you might feel comfortable doing is, and it's logical, playing with your thumb behind your fingers. So if you can see, the IMA fingers, these are all in a row. They're not perfectly, perpendicular to the string. If you bring your hand up, you're going to see that your fingers are kind of at an angle to the strings. Your thumb might be more comfortable back here. If you twist your wrist, pay attention to what my wrist is doing over here, right? If I play with this position, I have a wrist that's twisted this way, and I'm kind of hyperextending it so you can hopefully see it. But then if I twist it this other way, right, which makes it a little bit more straight, slightly extended that way. This is exaggerating so you can see it. But it gets the thumb, and here's the point, it gets my thumb ahead of the index finger. In other words, towards the neck a little bit more. So I have full motion of the thumb and full motion of the index finger. Often, like on this C chord, we're going to be playing notes in sequence. Which you won't notice this problem I'm trying to illustrate. But if we go to a D chord, then we might have that problem. I don't have much motion if my thumb is far back here, or if my thumb is directly next to my index finger. There's really nowhere to go. And what we're going to have to do is sometimes we're going to have to play all the notes of a chord, finger-picked style, play them all at once. And that's when you need your thumb and your index finger separated by position. Okay? So keep that in mind and experiment a little bit. That might mean you need to move your guitar around a little bit too. If you notice, I'm resting it on my left leg, because this is in the classical style. It's actually easier to have this hand positioning when you're in the classical guitar position. So maybe try that if you haven't tried that before. I'd recommend doing that. I mentioned playing the notes in sequence. The whole reason for this thumb position and adjusting the thumb position to be out of the way of the index finger is really important whenever you're playing all the notes together. So all 4 fingers playing the notes of the chord at the same time. And I call this like a piano attack. Normally when we play chords on guitar with a pick, for example, though I'll use my thumb here, right? We strum the chords. Even if you strum it fast, or I should say with velocity, so it kind of sounds like you're playing all the notes at once. You're not. We basically have a really fast played arpeggio, which simply means we're playing the notes in a harp-like manner, one note at a time. It's impossible to play with a pick and play all the notes at the same time. Fingerstyle, however, notice how it has a much sharper attack. All the notes are being played at the same time. All the attack of each note lines up and therefore makes a really large attack, we would say. Okay, so hence the thumb position needs to be up front. Now, talking about the velocity of the fingers, if you notice, with just one exception, and the exception was when I was playing this chord in the piano style. But let me go back to single notes. Don't pay attention to my fingers. Pay attention to my hand when I play the notes individually, then when I play the full chord. Watch what my hand does. See if you can spot it. Okay, and if you said, well, when you're playing the piano style, your hand bounces up, but when you're playing the notes individually, your hand stays in the same position. If that was your answer, you win. You got it. Right? So what we want to do when we're playing fingerstyle, with that one exception of playing the full chord, when we're playing fingerstyle, we let our thumb, or I should say we let our fingers create the vibrational energy on the string. It's not our hand. So I don't want to go like this. I'll go back to the E minor chord. So that's just all these strings open. Right? 6, 3, 2, 1. P-I-M-A. Quick little reminder. When I'm playing these notes, it's this motion, right? I'm letting the thumb do the work. On this next string, I'm plucking upward and kind of, really it's kind of in this direction, if you see. It's outward this way, just to be able to not do that and play, two strings at the same time. You're gonna have to get a feel for this. Imagine if you drew a line from the string to this part of your thumb, and that's kind of the area that you're aiming whenever you pluck the strings. That's the way you can pluck each string separately. And by that, I mean only that string, right, individually, and not pluck the adjacent string next to it. Okay, so that's really important too. The velocity at which you do that is what dictates the volume of the resulting sound. So what do I mean by that? Well, if I play and go back to the E minor, if I play these notes, let me use the index finger for that. Can you tell what I'm doing there? Obviously the volume is quieter. I'm going to go real quiet and then I'll go really loud. See if you can tell what the difference is. My hand won't move. It'll just be the movement of my index finger. See if you can tell what happens. See that? Same direction, same plane of travel, I guess you would say, from the string to this part of the thumb. If I want to play quietly, I don't move the string much. I don't go the full distance. If I want to play louder, and that's as loud as this guitar will go, just for reference. Notice I'm actually plucking all the way and letting my finger touch that part of my hand. If I were playing my full concert guitar, that would be a very, very loud note. And that's the way you get a lot of volume from finger picking and picking the strings. The thumb is going to be the same thing. Again, that's about as loud as it will go. But notice what I did. I let the finger travel, go basically as far as it can, which is touching this finger. Okay, now you're not going to play with that full volume all the time, but at least for an initial diagnostic, it's a great technique to try. Okay, so you can try that. Now go through each chord that you know, C, A, G, E, and D, and the two variations, E minor, A minor. Okay, go through each of those with this basic pattern. So you can start with C, right? And then you go to A. A is another one of the chords that uses 5 strings. But finger style, right, we have to drop one of the notes. Go to the lowest note of the chord. That's the A, the 5th string. And then again, I, M, A. Those are on first or third, second, and first string, respectively. I, M, A. And G. D, and then our two variations, E minor and A minor. Okay, what you should also practice are a couple of variations. We already mentioned the piano style variation, I call it. Okay, and that was on the C, A, G, E, and D chord. And then think of some combinations. Here are just a few. We don't have to always play the notes in sequence or play all fingers at once. We have 4 fingers. We have many, many combinations that we can play. Here are some of the most common. First of all, you would play, and I'll just use the E minor chord for this. Okay, so again, left hand takes a break, and you can play with your thumb on the 6th string, I, M, A on the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st, like usual, and play them separately. That is, play the thumb separately, but then play I, M, A, play these 3 fingers together. So. Okay, very common. So over a G chord and a C chord, let's say. Okay, and of course, any other combination of chords that is previously mentioned in other videos, we could go on. There are some other combinations, of course. If you use just your thumb and your index and middle together, treating these two kind of as a pair. Right, really kind of a cool sound if this is on a C chord. Okay, we can just do the opposite where you start with the index and middle fingers. And that was just over a C chord and a G chord. Okay, paying close attention to what strings you play on your right hand. But all I was doing was the notes that are on the beat, I was playing with the index and middle finger. And the notes off the beat, I was playing with the thumb. Now slow, that's obviously, kind of a calm, somber kind of sound. Faster, it's a little bit more exciting. But it's an extremely common fingerstyle pattern. So really those 4 patterns right there, thumb, index, middle, ring, all 4 fingers, the piano style, and then you would have your thumb, and then index, middle, and ring all together, or just the thumb, index, and middle together. 4 of the most common finger-picking styles. Of course, there are others, and on my website there are examples, song examples of some of those, and songs that use various combinations that we've gone over and some that we haven't gone over. But if you just kind of remember at least this video as a foundation, how to pluck the string, where to place the string on your fingers, how to prepare each note, then you'll be good to go. Have fun finger picking and have fun playing. See you next time. Thanks a lot.